And this is about the Delhi riots probe. Police in its charge sheet says that Sharjeel Imam roped in Jamaat-e-Islami Hind and PFI for Delhi riots. He held meetings with the core members of the Muslim students of JNU. And later, these members went to Jamia to instigate the students. That's the charge which is being reiterated in that charge sheet in the Delhi riots case. There are multiple charge sheets and FIRs that have been filed. There are standalone cases which are going on. Sharjeel Imam is an accused in the Delhi riots case. And the key charge on him is of masterminding a larger conspiracy to create these riots. 120B. Ananya is with us on the broadcast. Ananya, tell us more about this charge sheet.
Oh, yes, Anusha, this is the charge sheet that was filed by the Delhi police.
Ananya, if you can still hear me, we'll try and connect with Ananya. Now, I'm going to reiterate what that charge sheet says. There are multiple cases of Delhi riots which are going on in various courts across the country, including the trial court, some of them at the High Court as well at the bail stage. Ananya is back with us on the broadcast. Ananya, the case pertaining to Sharjeel Imam and the charge sheet against him. Take our viewers through the key charges against him and what is the evidence that the Delhi police is presenting to substantiate those charges.
Oh, yes, Delhi police has a lot of electronic evidence. It also has a lot of statements of the witnesses into this particular case. And now what is very, very crucial is that yesterday itself in the Delhi High Court, while the High Court was hearing this bail matter of Sharjeel Imam, of Umar Khalid, another accused person in this particular matter, has clearly, the Delhi police has told the court that PFI was one of the conspirators into this particular case and was one of those who were responsible for the riots that broke down in the national capital in the month of February 2020. And CNN exclusively has those charge sheet details which entail down to the minutes of meeting that Mr. Sharjeel Imam at Muslim students of Jamia at Teflas in the JNU campus. And in fact, it was discussed that the PFI and Jamaat-e-Islami Hind would also be contacted into this particular case. We also have exclusively accessed the minute of those meetings, which is there with us, and clearly which shows that he had suggested that PFI and Jamaat-e-Islami Hind, apart from other organizations, should also be roped in. And following this meeting, Mr. Imam, along with the other members of the Muslim students of Jamia, had gone to the Jamia Millia Islamia University, and on 16th, the subsequent day, the next day, violence had broken down in the Jamia Millia Islamia University, and we saw a clash between the police and the protesters also taking place. So somewhere or the other, Delhi police is connecting all of these dots in this particular case, which relates to the larger conspiracy that led to Delhi riots. And remember, bail pleas of almost all the accused person, whether it's Umar Khalid, whether it's Sharjeel Imam, was rejected by additional sessions judge Amitabh Rawat, who was hearing this case at the sessions judge level. And now the matter has reached the top court. Umar Khalid's lawyers and Sharjeel Imam's lawyers have already argued this particular
Ananya, I'll just
case,
come back to you. I want to take in a word from Mr. Amit Malviya of the BJP as well. Mr. Malviya, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on the show. These are some serious allegations which the Delhi police is now substantiating in its charge sheet. It says that Sharjeel Imam had in fact roped in Jamaat-e-Islami Hind and PFI for Delhi riots, and all indications of a larger conspiracy being hatched. That's what the Delhi police is arguing before the court.
Well, we have maintained all along that what we saw in Delhi and before that the Shaheen Bagh protest, it was not a spontaneous outpouring. It was fairly well orchestrated. It was backed by these Islamist organizations, and these students from JNU, Jamia and others are basically cannon fodder of these organizations. They are pushed in the front by the communists, and the Islamists back them with foot soldiers. And what you see is a cocktail of violence and intimidation, as we saw in Delhi. This is going to unfold, and a lot of people who have been behind these riots, who have been instigating violence in the name of religion and otherwise, will get exposed. But the larger conspiracy of trying to destabilize the capital at a time when we had a high-profile foreign visitor, and also the riots that we saw post the CAA legislation, is now all falling in place. These are not spontaneous protests. They were well orchestrated, and there are very powerful forces who want to weaken India and it is now getting quite evident.
And not just protests, the riots that happened, the lives that were lost, and that's what the police is investigating. Mr. Malviya, there's another aspect of this discourse to which I'd like you to respond, which is that often in the social media discourse or in the public discourse, it's often argued that these are botched up charges. This is a botched up investigation, and the police, at the behest of the government, is only trying to frame certain student activists who do not see eye to eye with the government. How would you respond to that?
Can you see the images of the riots that are playing out on your television channel at the moment? These riots were not orchestrated by the government or, for that matter, a handful of students. These were people who were out there in hordes, and it could not have happened unless there were powerful organizations backing them, unless there were radicalized men who were forced out on the streets in the name of religion, in the name of protecting their faith. So those who make these wild allegations are basically providing intellectual cover to the radicalized Islamist organizations who are using these students in these college campuses for their own nefarious agenda. Let's not forget that this deadly combination between the communists who operate out of these college campuses and use young, impressionable minds and then dovetail them in with a radicalized Islamist propaganda that goes on, by organizations such as PFI, Jamaat-e-Islami, Jamaat-e-Hind, and so on and so forth, is a disaster in making for a secular country like us, which has several strands of social fabric which are all intertwined. But there is a plot that is, at work there, and it is only in the last 8 years when their plans are not succeeding is when they are getting exposed. Otherwise, all of this would get pushed under the carpet as secularism, as Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb and whatnot. But the truth is that there is a dark, radicalized Islamist underbelly which is being exploited by these left radical communist organizations.
All right, Mr. Malviya, I appreciate you joining us on the broadcast and giving us your time. The Delhi police has always maintained a special cell which is investigating the case that Chargesheet Imam Umar Khalid were involved in a larger conspiracy in the Delhi riots case. Of course, these are allegations, but in the charge sheet, the police is making giving further substantial base to these allegations, the links with PFI, Jamaat-e-Islami Hind, and various other details which are emerging. All this and much more on the other side of a quick break. Stay tuned.